You know that feeling when you walk into Costco, see those massive meat sections, and think this is where you get quality for less? Well, what if I told you that the very thing that makes Costco successful at everything else is exactly what makes their meat department problematic? The wide aisles, those tempting prices, the illusion of abundance, all hide what I call the warehouse paradox. It's that hidden reality that changes every piece of meat you toss into your cart without a second thought. Tonight, we are going to uncover 7 shocking truths that will change how you shop at Costco forever. But first, let's talk about why the fresh label has fooled millions of shoppers. 1. The fresh food illusion. You know that moment when you stand in Costco's meat section, the cool air brushing your arms, and you see that fresh label stamped across bright red steaks? It feels like certainty in a world where food prices climb every week. You're getting quality, you're getting value, and that label seals the deal. But what if that label is the first part of a larger illusion? Most people don't realize that a lot of Costco's fresh beef isn't as fresh as it looks. According to Eat This, much of that meat has been previously frozen, thawed at distribution centers, then placed under bright lighting with a fresh label that makes you think it came straight from a farm to your cart. This isn't illegal, but it changes what fresh really means. Think about it. That steak may have been frozen weeks ago, thawed out, and made to look bright red under carefully tuned lighting designed to make your brain trust what your eyes see. And the problem doesn't stop there. Take a look at the packaging dates the next time you're in Costco. Many shoppers see a packed-on label and feel reassured, believing the date reflects how fresh the meat is. But as Mashed reports, that packed date doesn't tell the whole story. It hides the true age of the meat, which could be several days or even weeks old before it even hits the shelf. Since the clock doesn't start when the animal is slaughtered, but when the final package is sealed. That's why some people notice the meat they buy at Costco spoils faster than they expected, even though the packed-on label made it seem like it was just prepared, only to discover the meat turning gray or giving off a strange odor just a day or two later. This gap between what you think fresh means and what it actually is at Costco is what sets up the deeper problem in the meat aisle, one that most shoppers never realize until it's too late. Have you ever bought fresh meat at Costco only to find it turn bad way sooner than you thought it would? All of this is part of what I call the warehouse paradox. Costco's entire environment is built to earn your trust before you even look at what's inside your cart. The tall ceilings, bright lights, fast-moving lines, and membership-only promise give shoppers confidence that they're getting the best. That trust makes it easier to overlook the fine print on your meat labels and to believe that fresh means just that. Costco's model relies on moving large quantities quickly, but when it comes to meat, that speed doesn't always mean you're getting the freshest product. It means you're getting what looks fresh enough to sell, supported by a system designed to keep you moving through the store without asking too many questions about how long that meat has really been sitting there. And if you care about what you're feeding your family, these hidden details matter. They change how you look at that fresh label and how you think about what's really sitting in those packages under the bright warehouse lights. But misleading labels are just the beginning. What if I told you there's something being pumped into your meat that makes it look perfect while hiding dangerous contamination? 2. The color deception. You've seen that deep red color in the meat at Costco, the one that looks like it was cut just minutes before you picked it up. It almost glows under the warehouse lights, reassuring you that you're getting something fresh, safe, worth the price you're paying for that membership. But what if I told you that color might be one of the biggest deceptions hiding in plain sight, keeping you from seeing how old or unsafe that meat actually is? It's called modified atmosphere packaging. Retailers use a mixture of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen to preserve the bright red color in beef for weeks. The carbon monoxide bonds with the meat's myoglobin, locking in that cherry red color regardless of what is happening inside the package. According to Truth or Fiction, this process can keep meat looking fresh even if it is past the point when you would normally notice spoilage. Think about what that means for a moment. That bright color you trust to tell you your steak is good is not a natural sign of freshness. It is a chemical trick. It can mask the development of spoilage, bacterial growth, and other contamination signs that would normally warn you to toss the meat before it makes you sick. You might rely on your eyes in seeing that bright color as a safety net, but that safety net doesn't exist. And here's something even more interesting. While some American retailers use modified atmosphere packaging with carbon monoxide, others have chosen not to. Walmart, Kroger, and Whole Foods have policies that avoid using carbon monoxide in their meat packaging, citing transparency and customer safety concerns. They've recognized the risks that come with masking spoilage and want their customers to have a clear view of what they're buying. If some of the biggest players in the retail world are saying no to this practice, that should tell you something. And it's not just a few retailers raising concerns. The European Union has banned the use of carbon monoxide in meat packaging entirely, citing the risk it poses to public health. Regulators across Europe have determined that the benefits of keeping meat looking red for longer do not outweigh the potential dangers of customers being unable to identify spoiled or contaminated meat. Yet here in the United States and in stores like Costco, this practice is still allowed, and many shoppers don't even know it is happening. Costco's warehouse model relies on moving massive volumes of product quickly, and part of what helps that system run is the illusion that everything you pick up is fresh and perfect. Those bright lights, wide aisles, and packed carts all build trust. The problem is that trust can blind you to the realities of what is inside that packaging, and the modified atmosphere system quietly benefits from that trust. When you see that perfect color, it feels reassuring, but it's worth asking who that reassurance is really for. Is it for you, the shopper who wants to feed your family safely? Or is it for the system that needs to keep those packages moving off the shelves, regardless of how fresh they truly are? Because that color you see is not a guarantee of safety. It is not a sign that the meat is free from contamination or spoilage. It is a marketing tool, one that is allowed to operate in a regulatory gray area, one that keeps you confident enough to buy, cook, and serve meat that might be far older than you think. That artificial color is disturbing enough. But wait until you see what they're doing to tenderize your steaks. 3. The invisible needle attack. You know that confident feeling when you grab a Costco steak, thinking you're getting premium cuts untouched, ready to slap on the grill for that perfect medium rare sear? What if I told you dozens of tiny needles or blades have already pierced most Costco steaks before you even see them on the shelf? It's called mechanical tenderization. According to PBS, this process pushes blades or needles deep into the meat to break down tough muscle fibers, making the steak feel tender without aging it for weeks. It sounds like a clever hack to keep prices down while giving customers a softer bite. But here's the hidden problem. Every time those needles punch through the surface, they can push bacteria like E. coli and salmonella from the outer layer deep into the center of the meat, where your sear won't always reach. Think about that for a second. You might be cooking your Costco steak medium rare, thinking you're safe because the outside is browned and crisp. But if harmful bacteria were driven deep inside during tenderization, your medium rare center might still carry dangerous pathogens. The Centers for Disease Control has tracked outbreaks of foodborne illness tied to mechanically tenderized beef, with serious cases leading to hospitalizations. In some instances, people got sick simply because they cooked their steak the way they always had, without knowing what had been done to it. Who else thought they were getting untouched, premium steaks at Costco? This changes everything, right? What makes this even more concerning is how the industry handled labeling. Mechanical tenderization started years before the USDA even required labels informing consumers that their meat had been treated this way. Costco was among the retailers using this method before customers even had the chance to know it was happening. The USDA only mandated labeling in 2016, forcing companies to disclose that the meat had been mechanically tenderized and that it should be cooked to a higher internal temperature for safety. MASH points out that many shoppers still don't realize the risk tied to cooking these steaks at lower temperatures. Suppose you're the kind of person who loves a juicy medium rare or rare steak. In that case, Costco's mechanical tenderization process might mean you are taking a risk you didn't sign up for. Now let's consider why mechanical tenderization became so common. Retailers like Costco move massive quantities of meat every single day. The process helps them take tougher, less expensive cuts and transform them into something that feels tender enough to keep customers happy, all without the time and costs that come with proper aging. It is efficient, reduces waste, and keeps the system running. But that efficiency comes at the cost of pushing bacteria into the meat's core, where a quick sear can't reach. If you care about your health and the safety of your family, this is a critical piece of the puzzle when it comes to Costco's meat department. It's a reminder that what you see in those bright packages isn't always what you get, and that trusting the system without questioning how it operates can leave you vulnerable. Mechanical tenderization has turned into another hidden step in the supply chain that keeps costs down while exposing customers to potential health risks. So the next time you pick up that perfect-looking steak, you'll know that it may not be as untouched or premium as you assumed. Speaking of contamination, you need to hear about Costco's temperature problems that are putting families at risk. 4. The temperature danger zone. You know how you walk into Costco's meat section and feel that chill in the air, thinking it's keeping everything perfectly safe? Here's the uncomfortable truth. That chill might be fooling you. The USDA is clear about this. To keep meat safe, it needs to stay below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the baseline to keep bacterial growth under control, slowing the multiplication of pathogens like E. coli and Salmonella, which can make people seriously ill. However, when undercover tests and customer complaints were checked, Costco's meat sections were regularly found hovering in the range of 43 to 47 degrees Fahrenheit. It doesn't sound like a big difference, but let's break it down. Bacteria thrive in what the USDA calls the danger zone, which runs from 40 degrees up to 140 degrees. Within that window, bacteria can double every 20 minutes, turning what looks like a fresh cut of beef into a playground for invisible contamination. And when you think about Costco's layout, you start to see how easily this can turn into a real problem. Costco's bulk shopping culture encourages long, leisurely trips. Shoppers browse electronics, check out clothing deals, taste free samples, grab a giant tub of peanut butter, then circle back for steaks before checkout. It's easy to spend over an hour in the store while your meat sits in a cart. And suppose that the meat was already sitting at 45 degrees in the display case. In that case, it is creeping further into the danger zone with every passing minute. Customer reports have noted that the meat sometimes feels cool, but not cold. One shopper shared how they picked up a pack of ribeyes that felt only slightly chilled, and by the time they got to checkout, the packaging had beads of condensation. That's not how safe cold chain management should work, and it makes you wonder how many families go home and grill up what they think is a safe, juicy steak, only to find themselves sick the next day without ever suspecting the temperature in Costco's meat case was to blame. The USDA guidelines are there for a reason. Bacteria like Listeria and Salmonella don't need much to multiply, and the margin between safe and risky is thinner than most people realize. Costco's reality of higher display temperatures becomes even riskier when combined with the long shopping times encouraged by the store's massive warehouse setup. Next time you're at Costco, feel the temperature in their meat cases. Does it feel cold enough to you? It's easy to think big stores have these details under control, but when corners are cut to save energy costs or to prevent frost buildup that might annoy customers, the safety of that meat can quietly slip below standard. This is not just about a few degrees. It's about a system that is supposed to protect customers, but often leaves them exposed to unnecessary risks, all while the fresh label on the packaging keeps you calm and confident. Temperature issues are scary, but the contamination stories will absolutely shock you. 5. Contamination Chronicles. In October 2024, Costco quietly pulled 11 million pounds of meat and seafood off its shelves. The reason? Contamination concerns are so widespread that even mainstream outlets cannot ignore them. From Listeria in salmon to Salmonella linked to charcuterie trays, Costco's recall list was like a map of what could go wrong in your fridge without you ever suspecting a thing. Imagine thinking you are getting premium cuts for your family, only to discover that the package could carry bacteria capable of sending people to the hospital. Some customers reported opening packages to find plastic shards, bits of rubber, or even small pieces of metal tangled in the meat. One shopper found a thin wire embedded in their ground beef, and another shared photos of a plastic strip cooked into their roast. These are not rare stories told on distant forums, but documented complaints that have stacked up over the years. Costco's recall system is another layer in this messy reality. While recalls are posted online and sometimes printed on small signs near store entrances, many customers only find out after they have already cooked and served the meat. Families assume safety because the packaging looks clean and sealed, but the truth is that contamination can slip through the cracks, unnoticed until it is too late. The pattern here stretches back more than 25 years. Recalls tied to contamination, foreign objects, and bacterial outbreaks have shadowed Costco's promise of quality. And yet the system built to warn customers often fails to reach them in time. But what might disturb you most is that you have no idea where your Costco meat actually comes from. Sixth mystery meat origins. Costco's meat counter might look neat under bright lights, but there is a hidden reality wrapped beneath that plastic. Behind every Kirkland steak lies a labyrinth that stretches across continents, shaped by contracts that change so often that even store managers admit they cannot keep track. More than 1,000 suppliers across the globe funnel beef, pork, and chicken into Costco's warehouses. Each link in the chain hidden behind a label that simply says Kirkland. Costco's meat comes from over 1,000 suppliers scattered across the world, contracts shifting constantly to whoever can cut the best deal that month. One day, it might be a domestic processor. Next, it could be a foreign facility flagged for animal welfare violations, but you would never know. The repeal of country of origin labeling laws means there is no easy way to track where that ground beef or those chicken thighs really came from. You are left guessing while the system moves quietly in the background. The Kirkland label itself is not a single source of quality. It is a patchwork stitched together by a rotating door of producers. It constantly changes hands, moves locations, and rebrands. Yet it keeps the same friendly label you trust. And while Costco says it audits its suppliers, the sheer scale and speed of this system mean gaps happen. If you think you are getting the same quality every time, the truth is you are just getting what is cheapest for them to sell you that week. Would you eat at a restaurant that couldn't tell you where your food came from? Yet that is exactly what happens when you shop for meat at Costco. You trust the label, but the label cannot always tell you the story behind your food, the farms it came from, or the workers who processed it. If you want to dodge the worst of Costco's meat maze, choose frozen over fresh unless you plan to cook that same day. Portion and freeze what you bring home, and skip those pre-marinated cuts that hide who knows what beneath a glaze. Sometimes your local butcher will give you better answers than any warehouse ever could. Tell me in the comments what shocked you the most in this deep dive. Until next time, shop smart, check those labels, and maybe keep a thermometer in your cart.